Good morning or almost afternoon. I guess it depends on where you are. Stephanie Erickson here. This topic really excites me. It's personal for me in that it's something that I'm trying to achieve, something that I'm trying to understand. Diana, do you need to do something?
My computer almost died, so I just plugged it in. I'm sorry.
Plug it in, no problem. That's Diana Winston. She's going to be my guest. So anyway, this topic is very near and dear to me. As a lot of you know who follow me, I struggle with anxiety. I live with it. And so mindfulness is a practice that I am trying to integrate into my life to help calm my nerves and keep me in the moment, not getting carried away. Really excited to have with me today Diana Winston. She is the director of the Mindfulness Education Center. Is that right?
I'm director of Mindfulness Education at the Mindful Awareness Research Center. At
U.C.L.A., my old stomping ground. I don't know if I told you. I think I did tell you I grew up in the Valley, so that's my old stomping ground. And she's also an author. She's written 2 books, one called Fully Present, and her newest book, Little Book of Being. Thanks, Diana, for coming on.
My pleasure. Great to be here.
So first, let's talk about mindfulness as a science, because I think for a lot of people, and certainly for myself in the beginning of my quest to understand this, a lot of people don't understand that there is actually some science behind mindfulness and or meditation and these practices that involve us calming our minds. And there's some changes that actually happen within our brain. Can you talk to me a bit about the science?
Absolutely. So there's been a lot of research on mindfulness in the last decade. They started really about 30 years ago, but most of it has happened in the last 10 years. And there's probably about 3,000 to 4,000 studies out there, which sounds great. It sounds like a lot of studies. It's still early in the field. So if you were to see how many studies will tell you that if you exercise, it's helpful if you have heart disease, you probably have 60,000 studies, something like that. So you have to understand the field is young. However, it's very promising. Lots of great research. Some of it about physical health. So stress-related conditions are really positively impacted by mindfulness. So high blood pressure, inflammation markers, boosting the immune system, helping the healing response. It's helpful for mental health as well. You mentioned that. Anxiety and depression. There's some very robust research looking at how it does impact anxiety and depression in a positive way. It can help with attention. So when I was first hired at U.C.L.A., we did a study on mindfulness for adults and adolescents with ADHD.
Okay.
Attention deficit disorder. And we were able to improve their ability to pay attention in the course of an 8-week program. And so attention is positively impacted. And then the area that you were mentioning is the area of neuroscience. How is mindfulness helping our brains? And one of the early studies done about 2011 was looking at advanced meditators. And these are the people who've been in caves in the Himalayas for, the last 30, 40 years. And they looked at their brain and they compared it to people of the same age range. And so you may or may not know this, but as you age, your brain thins out. So if you want something else to worry about, you can have that. It's called age-related cortical decline. But in the advanced meditators, they found that their brains didn't thin out in particular areas. And these are areas of the prefrontal cortex and insula cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is what we think of as the CEO of our brain, right? It's responsible for executive functioning, delayed gratification, working memory, flexible thinking, like that. In these advanced meditators, the brain didn't thin out in these areas and compared to people of the same age range. So it sounds great, except you're thinking, maybe people who are listening are thinking, well, I've never meditated before. How does that help me? But novice meditators, they've looked at brain structure, and they've, in one study, found that people who had practiced 27 minutes a day over 8 weeks, they noted some minute brain changes in similar areas. So it's all, again, it's all early research, very promising, very exciting, but much more to do.
A lot more to do. And I think not only in the research, although maybe people want to see the research numbers, but we live in a society that's very focused on like results results oriented, and where's the proof and where are the facts. And so I think that's why we lean towards things like you were saying that have 60,000 studies behind it. So I think the more research that's done and those the factual information that can be presented will be helpful in making a case for this and the integration of this into our school systems and our work systems and our family systems, just as part of, like, you know, normal health. We watch what we eat, we should all exercise, and we should all, you know, practice meditation or not mindfulness. And on that note, what is the difference between meditation and mindfulness? Because thinking of meditating, especially for me in the beginning, was extremely overwhelming because my mind is always buzzing. I'm like, well, it's impossible for me to sit still. And so I sort of had to back myself up and just say, well, as long as I'm paying attention to what's going on, at least I'm paying attention to what's going on versus getting caught up in those thoughts. Like, there's a difference. But sorry, I'm rambling. What is the difference, or is there a difference between mindfulness and meditation?
Okay, yeah, it's a great question. There's lots of things I can say. Meditation is a big category, right? Like sports is a big category. And there's hundreds of sports, there's hundreds of types of meditations, maybe dozens of types of meditation. Mindfulness is a type of meditation. As you practice it, you cultivate the skill of mindfulness. And also, it's not only cultivated, as you're pointing to, through meditation, it's also a quality of attention you could have at any moment. So you were kind of saying this, that we can learn to bring mindfulness in the course of our day. When we notice we're stressed out, we can take a mindful breath. When we notice we're feeling anxious, we can feel our feet on the ground. We can do mindful activities. Now, the two support each other. So it's helpful ultimately, if you're interested in mindfulness, to have a daily meditation practice, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes a day. But once you begin to integrate it into your life, you also see a lot of benefits, particularly the thing that you're talking about, that so much of the time we tend to go into the future or into the past, worrying, obsessing, planning, or thinking about what happened, replaying it. Why did we do that? If we can teach our mind to come into the present moment, there's more ease and well-being rather than lost in these ruminations.
Yeah. Oh, you're cutting out so much. I'm hoping that
Uh-oh.
I'm hoping you can still hear me, but there's a lot of delays. So you were talking about, I just want you to go back a bit. Diana, are you still there? We lost the connection. I'm going to send a new link to Diana and pull this up again. Sorry about that. Oh, maybe she's coming back. Diana, are you there?
I'm still there. Can you hear me?
So yeah, we got back. I don't know what happened. We lost, but now we're back. So that's good. Okay, so let's hang in there. So we were talking about, you were talking about what I was mentioning is that your mind just kind of like reels off and kind of gets a bit out of control. So there's a piece of mindfulness that is about just paying attention, I guess, to that process.
Well, I was saying that because we get lost in ruminations all the time, right? We're thinking about what happened, replaying it. Why did I say that? Why did I do that? Or we're planning, obsessing, worrying about the future. Mindfulness can teach us to come back into the present moment. And in the present moment, there's more of a sense of ease and well-being. So I was saying, for instance, if you notice yourself lost in anxious thinking, you might take a mindful breath. Notice your feet on the floor. Just find a way to connect with the present moment mindfully, and that can take you out of the rumination.
Okay, because I guess it's like, I don't need to go, 15 hours from now in terms of what's going to be happening, because right now my feet are grounded in this present moment. I'm feeling just fine. I feel my breath come in. So kind of like gets you out of the spinning and back to the moment. So if we know that the science of this is helping us, why do you think that more people aren't doing it? Is it like competing with the pace of the world, and it's like it just is not convenient, it just doesn't fit in? Because it doesn't seem like a lot of people are integrating this into their lives.
Well, I think a lot of people are actually. There's quite a bit of interest in mindfulness these days, and I think it's something like 9 million people report practicing meditation. I've seen this statistic, and you're right, it's kind of counter to the way of the world in a sense. It's like everything is going so fast. It's all about doing and productivity, and it's like it's against the stream in a kind of in a way. But I also think it's no coincidence that in this moment in time, mindfulness is getting popular. As we're hyper connected, as we're overly busy and overwhelmed, it's like there's a need for some kind of antidote to that kind of behavior.
Yeah, that's so true, Diana. And I think it's just going to get worse, because as technology advances, the expectations of us to be doing things at a faster pace, it's just going to keep increasing, because we can get things done so fast, and everyone expects us to get things done so fast. And so people, in my mind, it seems like we're all getting more and more stressed out. So let's talk about this. Let's talk about the busy working mom like myself. I am integrating some of this into my daily habits, but certainly I'm sure I could be doing more. But if I weren't doing anything, what is it that you suggest? The first thing that someone should do if they want to bring mindfulness in, and mindfulness in its definition is just the attention to the present moment. Is that right?
Yeah, I define it as paying attention to present moment experiences with openness and curiosity and a willingness to be with what is. So it's a specific way of paying, right? The last one's a little bit of a kicker.
Yeah, because it's like, oh, I'm feeling like I'm losing my mind. My heart is pounding. And it's like being able to just like accept that moment of where you are. That to me is the hardest piece. But so that's what we are. It's the attention to the moment. It's the curiosity. It's the accepting of where we are. So tell me, what's like the first thing that someone can do?
Well, I do recommend starting with a meditation practice, at least trying even 5 minutes. And so on our website, the Mindful Awareness Research Center website, we have 5-minute guided meditations that are free to download, and everybody can give that a try if you're interested. And what you do with the meditation is just to notice something that's really obvious, which is for most people, which is our breathing. And so you bring your attention to your breathing and you notice your breath. You feel your breath in your body, your abdomen rising and falling, your chest rising and falling. Then your attention wanders away, because it does with everybody. I know you said, I can't meditate, but when you first started, everybody's mind wanders. I mean, this is what the human mind does. We've been wired to wander and to search for threats. So your attention wanders away and you just gently bring it back to the present moment. And you just keep doing that over time without judging yourself or thinking you're doing it wrong. So
let me stop you on that piece.
Sure.
And by the way, thank you. Aileen is just logged in saying that she was just saying that she practices this daily and it's changed her life. I can't believe she just had a baby like 3 days ago. Congratulations.
Wow.
I can't believe she's going
to really need it now.
Exactly. But I want to just focus before we get to the more steps about this piece about the judgment, because I think that's what was a barrier for me in the beginning, and maybe for a lot of people, is that I think I'm going to do it wrong. I think there's a way that we're supposed to be mindful. There's a way we're supposed to meditate, and that any variation from that means that it's, number one, I'm doing it wrong and it's going to be ineffective. Mm-hmm. What would you say?
I will dispel that myth. You can't really do it wrong. You just try it. And even if you spend the whole time with your mind wandering and you just have 1 second where you felt that you were in the present moment, that's fantastic, right? Because most of the time, think about it, we're not in the present moment. Right. So you're slowly building a skill, and it's kind of like a muscle, right? So when you start out at the gym, your muscle's flabby, it's weak. And then the more that you lift a weight, it's going to get stronger. So it's like, it's in a way, it's repetition. It's just teaching yourself to come back to the present moment. And once you do it with something neutral, like your breath, you can then learn to do that in daily life, so that when you are stressed out, you can remember, oh, okay, I can come back to my breathing. I can feel my feet on the ground. And so there's nothing wrong with a wandering mind. It's absolutely part of the practice.
Well, that's good to know, so that we can remove that judgment from ourselves. So when we're going back to the steps that you would take, the first thing you said, the first step is just taking note of something that's maybe a bit more simple to take note of, which would be our breath. Where is our breath? We're breathing in our stomach, we're breathing in our chest, maybe even listening to the sounds of our breath. And if our mind wanders, we just come back to the breath. What would be the next thing that we could do as we're starting to integrate this into our practice?
So then I would suggest doing that like 5 minutes a day, even 3 minutes, but something so you give yourself a break from the ceaseless frenzy of life, right? So that you have that time for yourself. Then it would be this integration, and we can do it in very simple ways. One of my favorite practices I like to teach is called STOP, and it stands for stop, take a breath, observe, and proceed. So it's a mnemonic to help you remember to be mindful. And if you're feeling stressed out, you can stop, not freeze, but just, stop with the stressful thinking for a moment, take a breath, and then observe. And when I say observe, it doesn't mean look, it means observe your inner experience. Okay, my heart is racing, my stomach is clenched, my jaw is tight, or maybe nothing's going on, I'm feeling at ease. It's just, you notice what's happening internally. And then when you proceed, you proceed with more self-awareness. And so that's a simple tool that people can use on a daily basis throughout the day to remember to be mindful.
And is there another step to that? Because I know you said when we talked about doing this that you would actually take me through, you take us through an exercise. So maybe you can do like a minute or a minute and a half exercise so we can actually hear what you're saying and try and do what you're telling us to do at that time. Is there a next step to this, or could you take me through it right now?
Okay, so what I would do right now is just take you through a little bit of a breathing meditation so that people can get the basics. But I would say the next step after this would be start doing longer meditations, incorporating it more frequently into the day, maybe a daily activity where you practice being aware, these kinds of things to bring mindfulness more fully into your life.
Okay, so it's not, because it is like a muscle. So first we want to just try it, remove judgment, try it. Try and do it, even for a small period of time. And then over time, I guess, increase that and maybe even like schedule it into our day, or, make a conscious effort, with intention every day. I'm going to do, my mindfulness practice at this particular time. Okay, so now I'm ready. I'm going to get myself, I guess, feet flat on the ground, which is what I just did.
Great. Okay, so we'll just do like a minute, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So just wherever you are, just invite you to settle back. And if you feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can. Feet on the floor or however you're comfortable. Let's just take a deep breath. And as we take a deep breath, allowing ourselves to settle a little bit. Another breath or two. You can feel your body present on the chair or wherever you are, a couch, noticing the sensations of weight and pressure and heaviness, tightness, softness. You might notice that your body is breathing. So you can tune into your breath wherever you feel it, in your abdomen, rising and falling, your chest expanding and contracting, or the air moving through your nose. Just notice your breath, feeling your breath. And then if your attention wanders, which it probably does for most people, you can bring it right back to your breathing. You can do that again and again. Let's open our eyes. That was a short version.
But your voice is super soothing. I'm like, my mind was wandering. I'm like, how can I turn this into an MP3? Put it on repeat so I can listen to Diana.
Go to the website.
On the website. So on that note, the way I started, and actually the way I still do this, is through guided meditation. I have an app from Deepak Chopra, Ananda, that I've downloaded, and that's what I use, because I find that to go for transition from busy to that state, it really helps to have that guided meditation. And then there's just music for a while, and then he comes back and says something. For me, it's extremely helpful. And now you're telling me that's not a wrong way. If it's working for me, it's fine.
No, no, guided meditation is very helpful, especially when you're starting out. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And if, you know, what are some of the benefits that people should see? Like how quickly, if I integrated this and started doing this, let's say even 4 minutes a day, how quickly do you think that I would notice the results? Says the result-oriented person.
Okay, it's hard to answer that question because everybody is so different. Some people do one meditation and they feel something and they think, oh, I've got to incorporate this into my life. Some people, it's over a period of weeks or months before they start feeling like, oh, this really makes sense for me. And that's the most important thing, I think, to try it and see what happens for yourself. If it does give you a pause and makes you feel a little bit more at ease and becomes something you can rely on, that when you notice you're anxious, okay, I'm going to come back to the present moment. I'm going to practice stop. Then you'll see that you're getting results.
Yeah, I mean, I think for me overall, like in my general functioning, I didn't see results right away in my general functioning, but now several years into this, I can see overall the reduction in my overall anxiety, the ability to go from the crazy brain to the relaxed brain. I still, kind of go there right away. That's still sort of my knee-jerk reaction, but being able to come back quicker. And I do notice that now I can stop and take some really nice, clean breaths in stressful situations without even saying, oh, I need to breathe and take that breath. It's kind of like that muscle is there where instinctually I remember, oh yeah, do this. And I'm not even necessarily conscious of the fact that my body is adjusting and shifting there. I want to mention your books, Diana. You have two. One is Fully Present and one is The Little Book of Being. Can you tell me a bit about what each one is about and how people could get a hold of it?
Sure. Well, both are available through Amazon and local booksellers, wherever books are sold. But the first, Fully Present, I co-wrote with a scientist, and it's a book about really about the science and practice of mindfulness. So each chapter has half a chapter on science and half a chapter on how to do it, with different sections on different, aspects of mindfulness. The Little Book of Being just came out a couple weeks ago, and it's a book about how to practice in a more relaxed and effortless way. And it's really about helping us to find the awareness that's already present, that we can all have access to. And everybody's had the experience of feeling at home and connected in one's body and mind. And that's where that book is pointing to. It's more of a shorter book.
And I really, you sent me an excerpt of it, and I really liked it because it does talk about accessing what we already have. And I think that thinking of starting this can be intimidating for a lot of reasons. But what you're saying is, first of all, there's no right or wrong way. Secondly, we all naturally have it. I mean, if we think back to even, we may not have the conscious awareness, but when we were little babies, I mean, babies are completely an open book. Like they're so aware, they're so present, they're so in the moment. We all are born with this. So it's kind of a way to kind of dig back and pull that piece out of us to be able to use it now.
Exactly. Yeah. Well said.
Well, thank you. Okay. So thank you so much, Diana. I really appreciate you coming on and talking about this. And what I'll do is I will post links to both of your books in the comments section of this video so that people can easily access the books and they don't have to remember what the titles are. They'll be able to access it in the comments. Thanks so much, Diana. I really appreciate it. I know it's early for you there on the West Coast.
Okay.
We're still chilly here in Montreal, so enjoy the California.
Thanks, Stephanie. Great to do this with you.
Okay, thanks a lot, Diana.